Ever feel like raising generous kids is this big, complicated thing? Like, how do you teach a kid to be genuinely giving?
Well, we're doing a deep dive today into 5 kind of surprising evidence-based tips that go way beyond sharing is caring.
Because it really is about so much more than just toys, right? It's about raising kids who are empathetic, who are kind, who are, well, good humans.
Exactly. So let's jump right into it with tip number 1, modeling generosity. Okay, we've all heard this one like a million times, but I got to ask, what's the science behind it?
It's all about those mirror neurons, right? Kids are hardwired to learn by watching us. I mean, there are studies that show even babies, like 6 months old, react differently to puppets who are helpful versus unhelpful. It's wild.
Wow. So we're talking like the very beginnings of understanding fairness and kindness. Exactly. And that's why everything we do, even the small stuff, it makes a difference. Letting someone merge in traffic, donating to a cause you care about. Kids are always watching.
So it's about weaving generosity into our everyday lives.
Absolutely.
Okay, tip number 2. This one's big on getting hands-on. Our source really emphasizes getting kids involved in things like volunteering, charitable activities, that sort of thing.
Because there's a big difference between like talking about helping others and actually doing it, you know?
Totally. It makes me think about this one time. I was volunteering at a food bank with a friend's kid. He was, I don't know, maybe 7 or 8. And he had this job of like sorting canned goods. And you could just tell he was so focused, so proud to be contributing. It was really cool.
You hit the nail on the head. That's exactly it. These hands-on experiences help kids actually step outside of their own little worlds, understand other people's needs, develop real empathy.
Moving from awareness into action, right?
Right. Exactly.
Okay, but how do we make generosity, like the actual act of sharing, especially between siblings, how do we make that less of a constant battle?
Ah, the age-old struggle, right?
Right.
This is where our next tip comes in, switching gears from obligation to joy. Instead of you have to share, it's look at how happy your brother is playing with your truck.
Emphasizing that positive emotional connection. I like it.
Exactly. And when you see those acts of generosity, no matter how small, you got to acknowledge them, celebrate those wins.
Yes. Although, I gotta admit, sometimes I get a little carried away with this one. Like, my son will share a crayon, and I'm throwing a freaking parade. Where's the line between genuine encouragement and, well, going overboard?
I think the key is to be specific with your praise.
Hmm.
Instead of just like, good job sharing, you can say, it was really thoughtful of you to let your friend have a turn on the swings, even though you wanted to keep going.
Ah, so they really understand why what they did was so great.
Exactly.
Okay, tip number 5, understanding the impact of generosity.
Because it can't just be some abstract idea, right?
Yeah.
Kids need to see how their actions actually make a difference.
So how do we make that connection for them?
Again, it goes back to involving them. Maybe you're donating to a charity. Talk to your child about where the money's going, how it's helping. Or let's say you're donating clothes. Bring your child along. Let them help pick out some things.
Connecting those dots between action and positive outcomes.
Yes. And remember, generosity doesn't always have to involve like stuff. Sometimes it's a kind word, helping with chores without being asked, even just lending an ear to a friend who's feeling down.
So true. It's about teaching our kids to be thoughtful and caring in all aspects of their lives.
Exactly.
Wow, this deep dive has given us so much to think about when it comes to raising generous kids. But before we wrap up, here's something I've been pondering. How can we, as adults, model that same generous spirit, not just for our kids, but in every part of our lives? Just something to think about.